goals. That's all I'll say. 700 is the goal for tonight. I was going to say, I think that the card that we booked in Be the Booker on Monday night after the Raw review was crazier than what we got on Dynamite tonight, by far. By far. What was that? What was the fucking main event we booked on Monday night? The 3 stages of hell stuff, where it literally was like 3 stages of hell. It just went from bad to worse. That was crazier than anything we got on Dynamite tonight. Anyway, as I said, Be the Booker may have to wait for Friday, but hey, 700 likes is the goal. So there you go. Right out of the gate, here at the beginning of the show, they mentioned that Toni Storm was medically disqualified from wrestling tonight after she was taken out backstage earlier today. They showed footage of Renee Paquette frantically entering the locker room. There was just a shambles. Couldn't even get the words out to explain what had happened. Then the door swings open and we see Toni Storm laying there, and there is a giant pool of blood next to her head. I mean, it looked like somebody had put a Glock to her head and pulled the trigger. I mean, it was like, what the hell happened to this woman? Clearly, she was medically disqualified for pretty much anything tonight. And so we were informed that Mina Shirakawa would be taking her place later on in the no-holds-barred match with Marina Shafir. Then, fresh off of his return at Revolution, Will Ospreay made his in-ring return, his first match in 6 months, against Blake Christian. This is yes. Go Be the Booker. 530 people here with these 700 likes. How's that gonna work? Manifest that. The math is not mathing. Anyway, Bryan Danielson on commentary talked about how much more invasive the surgery that Ospreay had on his neck was than the operation that he had in 2014. And yet, it took Ospreay less time to recover and come back to the ring than it did Danielson. So it was good to have someone like him on commentary in this situation because he can relate to it. He can relay his own personal experience as someone who went through basically the same thing that Ospreay did. So he can offer a perspective that you can't get from Tony Schiavone or from Excalibur. So yeah, Blake Christian was the opponent here. And he had a neck breaker and a DDT, which gave Ospreay a chance to sell his neck. He had the kinesio tape on the back of his neck. In the end, though, Christian set up for his own version of a hidden blade. Ospreay was able to counter that with a back elbow, and he hit his own hidden blade for the win. He gave Blake a
wow, we sure got here fast.
I can see the logic of throwing somebody like him in there. It's Blake Christian. I mean, it's someone. It's a body to put in the ring with him that is going to just look good for Ospreay's offense. He'll bounce around, right? He'll give Ospreay a chance to kind of work from behind and to make a comeback there at the end, and he doesn't have to do anything too crazy. Blake Christian was the one who was really doing all the crazy stuff in this match. All the big dives, all the big, high spots and whatnot mostly came from him, which is good because right now Ospreay's his first match back. See the need for him to be going out there and doing anything crazy. So he has that first big pay-per-view match, right? Save it for the match with Moxley. Save it for the matches that matter. Last thing we need is for him to end up back on the shelf with another neck surgery. So that's why Blake Christian was his opponent here. After the match, Ospreay took the microphone and he addressed John Moxley. He asked him if he would like to know the biggest difference between the two of them. If you want to know the biggest differences between you and me, Ospreay doesn't need a weapon to snap someone's neck. He could do it with his bare fucking hands. And they bleed fucking obviously. So that brought out Moxley and Wheeler Yuta through the crowd. Ospreay, though, wasn't waiting for them to get there. He attacked them in the crowd.
A humble request for your assistance.
He brought Moxley inside where
We
he was
received
setting him
word of
up
a
for something,
Daracon
maybe a Tiger
rampaging through the
Driver.
Wounded Hollow.
We'll never
It is a
know
matter
because
I would gladly
hit the
resolve
ring and he
myself,
booted him
but
down.
my other
And then
responsibilities
Pac locked
have not
on
allowed
the
me.
brutalizer. They sent
We have
security out
already
there
asked
to
so much of you,
pull him off
but I would be
because he
further
was just
still
a
in your
man
debt
and he would
if
not
you
let go
wanted
of the
them.
hold.
Understood.
So the Bang
I'll see
Bang
it
Gang's
taken care of.
music starts to play.
Hearing that,
And
I know the deed
Ospreay
is as
slowed
good
down
as
in the
done.
ring.
Then take care.
So they make their
And
way out
again,
on stage
my
for the next match. Ospreay, though, gets back up. He charges down the aisle. He dives onto Pac, and the two of them brawl to the back. And amidst all of the carnage, it just sort of went directly into the next match. As far as Ospreay and the Death Riders, this is the first time since the Continental Classic where Jon Moxley really was not, even in like the match that came after this, was really not treated, by the crowd as a beloved babyface. He's been a babyface since the Continental Classic. The other members of the Death Riders so much, and now I don't want to say it's back to the way it was, but it was very weird on Sunday just watching him out there with Ospreay, and the realization that, okay, how is this going to work? Because the fans have been cheering him. Obviously, they're going to cheer for Ospreay. Ospreay wants revenge for what the Death Riders did to him over the summer, so that makes sense. But I don't know how they're going to position Moxley in this going forward. I mean, they did nothing tonight to play off the comment that Excalibur made on commentary the other night about how, he's been beloved by the fans, but, now it's time for him to pay for past sins. There was no promo. There was nothing to really give you a sense of which way they're going to go with that. And then Ospreay's promo, where he basically said, "I'm going to break your fucking neck with my bare hands." So we're just waiting on when they do the Ospreay Moxley match. I kind of hope it isn't for the Continental title. If you can get away with it by saying that this is personal, this is not about championships. I just don't see it. So, Will Ospreay wins the Continental title, who cares? He should be in the Owen. He should be prepping him to challenge for the AEW World title, the Continental title in this situation. It doesn't mean anything. And they're just wrestling non-title. When the time comes,
The hunt is on.
put them in the ring together and Moxley beat him like he's been beating everybody else. They beat Will Ospreay. That doesn't seem very likely. Turns out Moxley and Yuta were coming out anyway for a match against Juice Robinson and Ace Austin. Let's say this about Will Yuta. Will Yuta has had chance. He's out there, and he is like the most generic creative wrestler that you will ever see. Bald head. If you wrestle, you can do something negative.
How's the situation?
There, and I'm like, he's been part of the Death Riders this entire time. The idea is that it would help elevate him in some way. Of course it won't. I just look at the extent as part of what was supposed to be the top heel faction in this company. I just look at it and I just think, man, what a waste. This episode is really expressed VPN. Those are your you want that extra bit of privacy, right? So then what you want that same privacy when you're online. ExpressVPN is like tinted windows for your internet device. You can see out, but they can't see in. Internet service you click especially when I'm sitting there dying. It just gives me peace of mind. Security online data today by visiting expressvpn.com/solomon. That's expressvpn.com/solomon. You can get those forward instructions. expressvpn.com/solomon. Unison juice outside with the site you need. Until possibly they dropped. East Austin with 8 Death Riders. 3 minutes. Seemed to be a lot of Death Riders, obviously. Stuff. That's great. Scale of 1 to 10, and she's always at 14 scale of 1 to 10. On Sunday, because if you remember, he got sick on stage and ramp and was unable to get back to the ring and help his team, and so they lost. So he said he's not waiting to get into the ring. He tells the ring to be next. We had a pre-tape promo from Sunday night. Kenny Omega was not there tonight. And he chose the King and just referred him to the AEW World title, to be fair. He beat Kenny Omega first. You beat Kenny Omega. You beat Tony King. I guess that would make you. So he wants to run it back one more time. And he wants to keep his contendership on the line. He's basically a Ducks thing. You can hear from Sparkly on the phone. So now he gets the party line. It is closing the next time. It's going to be the craziest thing of the entire day for a crazy show. He's out there in the parking lot. And it's, daylight outside. It's the whole East Coast. And here comes Darby. He drives in, tries to run this man down. He's driving downtown. See how it's up. You can tell these two being around with each other. He's ready to try to get out of his satellite pulse. And he grabs him around and he puts some steps from Kevin Owens. He placed it over a kid's face, and he wasn't unconscious, but he was basically down on the ground. So the Darby takes him, and he throws him into the tree, and he throws him into the tree. He begins taking his head, and you see, just ran down, and he hits the ramp, and he begins to run, and before he immediately collects the announcer voice. And it's a priority to make it into the arena. So church silence during all of this. Once they did not make it out to the Sunday ring, there was a small
Leave it to me.
floor inside and ringside. He pulls a straight jacket out of the ring, and he places down Gabe Kidd. He then grabs his Gabe Kidd. Kidd kicks him in the neck, and he tosses him into the ring steps and he comes up upstream. Gabe Kidd begins to
anytime.
He got blood. I know it's very rare. Very rare we get blood on this show. In the ring, Kid tried for an avalanche pile driver. Darby bit his way free. He had an avalanche code red instead. Darby hit a scorpion death drop. He went up top. Kid kicked the referee into the ropes. Darby got punched. Kid to hit the power slam with no hands because, again, he's in a straitjacket. They ended up back outside. Darby is in the coffin. He bites at Gabe Kidd's nose. It's biting on this show. You notice that? Sunday, too. We had biting on Sunday. We had biting tonight. So, he was the lid. That's when he got bit on the nose. Back in the ring, connect before he drags Kid back outside. Then Darby goes back inside. He hits a suicide dive. And he knows Gabe Kidd. The impact knocks him backwards into the coffin. The lid then slams shut. Darby Allin is the winner of the coffin match. So after the match, Darby takes the microphone. He's all bleeding. Said that he would hold him the throne until he either sees God or the AEW World Championship. Which one do you think he'll see first? At Maxwell, I'm coming for you. I'm coming for the championship. It's not meant to be taken in a different way. So anyway, he put MJF on notice. That got surprisingly no reaction from this crowd. It wasn't like the crowd had a big cheer. Yeah, we want to see Darby Allin challenging the title. It was very quiet. And then they just played his music. It was kind of awkward, to be honest with you. I will say this. Unfortunately, not a good night for the Dogs. Yes, it's not a good week, really. The Dogs lost at Revolution. And then Gabe Kidd, who is 1/3 of the Dogs, he came in here tonight, all full of piss and vinegar. I'm going to kill you, Darby Allin. And he lost. The Dogs lost again. This is quite the introduction for these guys as a trio here in this company. A bunch of losers they are. Very good. As far as this match goes, yeah, they did some crazy stuff, but it's Darby Allin. And we've seen him do stunts like this in the past. So you kind of knew what to expect coming into it. They did some stuff outside. Once they brought it back inside, and again, it was the blood and the biting and pretty much what you would expect from a match like this. I was surprised Darby won. Now, I'm not surprised that they're going to position him as a contender for MJF's title, that he should be winning. I just thought, well, you've got this new trio, you've got this new group, and they're still, in this company anyway, they're still very new. And they didn't have a very good night on Sunday. So this was their opportunity to come here and rebound, and that didn't happen. And frankly, there's no need to extend this out. But to me, this was the end of Darby and the Dogs. So now Darby has staked his claim. You know, he wants to be he's not next in line. He wants to be in line for a shot at the AEW World title. And
Are you
I don't know
looking
when that
for
match is going to happen. He'll be coming for MJF at some point. I don't see that happening anytime soon. You got Kenny Omega and Swerve Strickland literally fighting over the #1 contendership.
Right.
But, yeah, I don't know what else to say about the Dogs. I mean, David Finlay debuted on this show, 2 weeks ago? And he already feels like a non-factor. Already feels like a total non-factor on this show. And he wasn't even on the show, by the way. There was no Clark Connors. There was no David Finlay. Gabe Kidd was there. He was going to do it alone. He was going to do it all by himself, and it didn't work out too well for him. We got footage of Jack Perry. He was getting ready for the show tonight. This was a wacky little vignette here. He was at home. He was packing for the show. So he had his trusty knife, and he had his new national championship. He leaves the house because Luchasaurus pulls up outside in the Jurassic Express bus. He's looking at his watch. He's waiting for Jack to come out. You know, we got to get to Dynamite. And Jack stops.
I just turned clock code into my marketing manager. Here's how I did it, and the two most important things that it's doing for my business right now. What I first did is I tracked down the marketing skills library that can be found on GitHub, which comprises of over 30 marketing-related skills that Claude Code can use. Next, I took these newly acquired marketing skills and used them with the front-end design skill that comes out of the box with Claude Code to make a brand kit in HTML. Now, with that professional brand kit, I'm having it design my funnels, landing pages, and social media with consistency that I did not have myself do. And congratulations, you now have Claude Code as your marketing professional that knows you, your brand, and your business without any of the overhead. I just turned Claude Code into my marketing manager. Here's how I did it, and
And he has a giant nut in his hand. Okay? He's got his nut in his hand, and then his squirrel, I guess, comes and takes the nut. Okay. Today's episode is sponsored by BetterHelp. Allow me to take a moment to shout out all the women out there that are important in our lives and the roles they hold each and every day, be it at home, at work, or anywhere they may be. March includes International Women's Day, which is a moment to celebrate women's strength and progress, and just how much they carry on their shoulders every day. Between caring for loved ones and managing untold responsibilities, their emotional well-being can be easily overlooked. So we need to remind these women just how much they matter, and that therapy offers a space for them to take care of themselves in the way they deserve. It might be your mother, your wife, your sister, your daughter, anyone. We all have women in our lives that we care deeply about. For me, that was my mom. She was my biggest fan and supporter. She carried a lot with her when it came to raising her family and managing her health issues. They probably have a lot of expectations placed on them. They may be under a lot of pressure. Therapy can help create balance, set healthy boundaries, and support overall well-being. Therapy makes you right purpose. They do the initial magic work for you so you can focus on your therapy goals. Fill out a short questionnaire to identify your needs and preferences. Their 12 years of experience in industry mean that you can get it right first. If you're ready, easier to help you with your match, you can switch to a therapist at any time based on their own tailored recommendations. Their therapists are also both licensed in the U.S. World's largest online therapy platform with over 30,000 therapists. BetterHelp has served over 6 million people across the world. With an average rating of 4.5 sessions, based on more than 1.7 million client reviews, you can see that it really works. And it works for you too. Emotional well-being, therapy, support, and therapy. Sign up and get 10% off at betterhelp.com/someone's. That's betterhelp.com/someone's. So then he goes into the bus. They travel all the way up to Fresno from wherever they were in Southern California. And then they pull up to the arena. Perry gets out of the bus. He says Revolution was a great night for him and his family. But tonight, he teams with two men who are like brothers to him. The Young Bucks walk in at this point. They said that it was a rough night of Revolution. But what example would they be setting for their kids if they just gave up? So instead, they're going to fight back to the top. It starts tonight against RPG Dice. Someone they thought was a friend because he go. Thesaurus, who was plush from. He yells, "Bitch." Rain does the dinosaur growl. 10 seconds. This was something. Can't say it was anything great, but it was certainly something. The first time I was in the room, asked the crowd, did we all see what Swerve did at Revolution? Did we see the carnage that he inflicted? That's why we call him the most dangerous man. In AEW, when he introduces Swerve Strickland, makes his way up to the ring, there's a chair. He sits in the chair,
Let's get
they
this
turn down
started, shall we?
spotlight on him. And he just says, just this past Sunday of Revolution, me and Brody King, we went to war. The only true winners in war are those with power. Says, if you ask me, did I enjoy beating that man in his home state? Yes, I did. Am I satisfied? No, because the power lies elsewhere. And sometimes the power is more important than the titles. Since he's dealt with since he was 17 in the military. forgot about that. That actually goes back to when he was Killshot in Lucha Underground. He had that Hell of War match with Dante Fox, where they talked about his background in the military even then. So he mentioned that. He mentioned it was, when I was traveling on the Indies, when I was
There it is.
developmental. Truth be told, if it wasn't for the Young Bucks at Dynasty last year, I would be a two-time AEW World Champion right now. Which brings him to Kenny Omega. Says he's the number one contender, Swerve is, for the AEW World title. Omega wants now. Swerve is all the way. Says, what is Swerve? What does he get from giving Kenny what he wants? Why would he just, okay, sure, I'll put my title shot on the line against Kenny Omega. But what's in it for me? Because there is one thing that interests him. That's his power. So you want this rematch? Offer up your EVP status. When I beat you, I, Swerve Strickland, will become the AEW's new executive vice president. We found out later on in the show, per Tony Khan, the match is now official. It will take place on Dynamite next week. It'll be Kenny Omega 1-on-1 against Swerve Strickland. I'll say this. It would be interesting giving Swerve some EVP power, depending on how they play that out on TV. I don't feel like they don't always do a very good job when it comes to a bunch of segments that you would expect to maybe play out backstage if they want to have some fun with the stipulation, stuff like that. I don't know what they would do with it. I'm sure he would take his power and abuse it in some way, on television. He would make maybe certain people's lives hell. It could be interesting for a little bit. It's a different approach. At the end of the day, it's really about the championship. He could talk about power, he could talk about EVP status. The one thing they've done a very good job of this year is really building competition up in the main event scene for MJF. Building up all of these different challengers, and really the power lies with the title. The power, it's not about EVP, the power lies with the championship. That's how it should be. That's how they've treated it so far. And that really is the most important thing here. If Swerve's going to win, and they want to add that little wrinkle, and they have some fun stuff planned for him, flexing his muscles as EVP, I suppose that could be interesting. But, I don't know. We're heading into Vancouver at Dynasty, and now Kenny is getting his rematch next week, and he got this guy to put his title shot on the line. I would think it would be very tempting to have a main event on that show of MJF and Kenny Omega in Canada.
Are you prepared?
For the championship. Although we already have a couple of other Canadians going for the tag team titles on that show. All the Canadians are going to get their title opportunities in the same night. Anyway, I'm looking forward to the match. Their first match was great. I'm sure the second match next week will be great as well. As far as this other stuff, doing the EVP stuff, Kenny Omega doesn't even really talk about being an EVP. It's kind of like they don't really dwell on it. The Young Bucks did. That was their whole gimmick. That's right. EVPs abusing their powers. We talked about that in this promo. Kenny doesn't really do that. So it's a little off in there. I think it's good.
Good. I made it into
That's really what I'm interested in. Speedball Mike Bailey. Speaking of matches I really didn't care to see. Speedball Mike Bailey won with Mark Davis on the Ultimate here just now. And you said they were opposing sides in the trios match on Sunday. So it wasn't totally great that there was that connection there. But Davis was very upset. It was the one championship that he's ever held in his AEW career, and it was taken away from him within like a week. That match, again, they have found a way to utilize Davis on these shows rather than just sideline him until his partner comes back. Which, considering the size of the roster, would be very easy for Tony Khan to do. It's like, okay, well, let's just slide this guy off to the side, and we have these other people I could be using. Putting him in the Callis family, he's that guy that you can just send out there and lose matches. That's all he does. He goes out there. When he won the trios titles and got the pin in that match, I was pretty surprised. And then, of course, he lost it a week later, which is not surprising. But when he's out there, you know what his role is. You know, his role is to go out there. He's a great brawler. I've kind of become a low-key fan of Mark Davis, but at the same time, you know when he comes out, you kind of know how things are going to go. Him against Speedball, it's like, alright, it just is kind of his feels like her. Big up to them. Yeah, you want to the extent that you can. Not lazy like this to really momentum that you built up this pay-per-view on Sunday, and they did. I mean, they had a good momentum coming out of that show. It was an excellent show. And then you just end up with something like this on the show. It's like, Davis late in the match, he hit a gut wrench into the pile driver that I wish they protected better, but he's not afraid. He's not a crowd of games on the show. He's too good now. So protecting his finish is not going to be helpful. Speedball kicked out of it, and he won from it. So there you go. He kept has been getting some shine in singles matches. So then they decided to give it to Speedball. Okay. Image of MJF sitting backstage post-Revolution in the back. This right here. This is a great promo. It says, greatest collar match of all time. It's Iron Man match of all time, which is a shame. It is indeed the greatest Texas Death match of all time. Greatest AEW World Champion of all time. You know, normally the adrenaline is flowing, you don't really feel the pain. He goes, but I gotta tell you, the adrenaline's wearing off just a little bit. And I can feel every bump and every bruise, but it doesn't matter. Because I won. I won. And so it's all worth it. Today he turned 30 years old, which that was on Sunday, he turned 30. So he said, happy birthday to me. Accomplished more in my 30 years here than most Hall of Famers have in their entire career. I'm way ahead of schedule. So that Hangman Page was a speed bump in my way. But he's off the board now. And he says, I got another 20 years in me. Got another 20 good years. And the only name that will be regarded as the best wrestler in the world is me. Got a one-way ticket to GOAT status, the Wolf of Wrestling, Salt of the Earth, Generational Talent, Big Hebrew, MJF. So now he's going to do what all the great athletes do. He tells the cameraman, go ahead, ask your question. And the camera guy asked him, what are you going to do next? And MJF looks into the camera, blood pouring down his face, and he says, I'm going to Disney World. And I'm watching this, and I'm like, Max, it's Disneyland. You're in California. I'm going to Disneyland. He probably just wants to get the fuck out of California. So he said Disney World. This was great. This was great.
Want a game-changing way to watch college basketball? With a one-day pass from Sling,
Welcome. I am
get
pleased
instant
I would
access
expect.
to the
Okay.
men's
I'm here
and
in
women's
a
tournaments,
Okay.
starting at just $4.99. You can catch all the action on TNT, TBS, ESPN, and ESPN2. Want even more? Then add an extra pack to your subscription for just $1. No overpaying, no overcommitting. Just tournaments so crazy, they'd be crazy to miss. Visit Sling.com to learn more. Sling lets you do that.
So you're running out of closet space. The good news? You don't need to stop shopping. You just need to start selling with The Real Real. The Real Real is the world's largest and most trusted resource for authenticated luxury resale. Whether it's that mini bag that can't even fit your phone, or those goods you never fully broke in, The Real Real handles everything from photography and copywriting to shipping and pricing. So you can just sit back, get paid, and make room for things that actually feel like you. And with 10,000 plus new arrivals every single day from top designers like Prada, Celine, Louis Vuitton, and Loewe, all for up to 90% off retail, you're bound to find something perfectly on brand to fill that extra closet space with. Plus, right now, you can get an extra $100 to shop when you sell for the first time. Make room for what feels like you. Go to therealreal.com to start selling and get your extra $100 to keep shopping at therealreal.com. That's therealreal.com. Terms apply.
Just a really well-delivered promo where he is taking a victory lap because, as he should, because he won a Texas death match against a man who was the king of Texas death matches in this company. I said the other night, Hangman came in 5-1. Not anymore. But he came in 5-1 in Texas death matches. He picked the stipulation. This was his idea. Both stipulations were Hangman's idea. Texas Death, in my opinion, I can never again challenge for the AW World title. And MJF still went in there and beat him. Pretty much fair and square. We'll take a victory lap too. Would have been nice to have him on the show, but given the bloodbath they had on Sunday, I wasn't really expecting him to be on the show. This is not the first time they've done this, by the way, where they have recorded something with him after the pay-per-view, and then they play that on the following week's Dynamite, and he's not actually there live. Hangman wasn't there because, as I mentioned earlier, Fightful had a report indicating that he's going to be taking time off. We don't know for how long. There was some speculation. Maybe he would be on the show, cut a promo, and then leave, but he was nowhere to be found on the show tonight. And
Nicely done.
I will take a wait-and-see approach on how they're going to approach the whole stipulation, because I just cannot believe that he will never again challenge for the AW World title. And if, in fact, they want to honor the stipulation, I think that's incredibly fucking stupid. I just think that's very, very dumb. Considering who he is and considering where he is on that roster, if you expect to have him for the long haul, anything that would lead me to believe that he's leaving the company anytime soon, I just don't understand why you would want to box yourself in again with one of your top guys like that. I would like to think that they have some sort of idea in mind before they decided to do this, but maybe not. I mean, he definitely has to dip out of the world title scene for a while, but to do so forever, again, I think that's pretty stupid. Mina Shirakawa against Marina Shafir. No holds barred. Mina came out to the ring with a barbed wire baseball bat. No reaction. As somebody in the chat mentioned, apparently they really did not clue people in the building, which I find hard to believe. Did they not air the footage of the Toni Storm attack? I mean, I guess they didn't have the right to tell people in the building that she wouldn't be on the show. So that had a lot to do with why people seemed very confused when Mina came out. She came out with a barbed wire baseball bat. The bell sounded. Marina took the bat away from her almost instantly. Mina brought out a bucket with bottles of champagne in it. Marina slammed Marina. I said Marina. Mina. I'm going to get them confused. Marina slammed Mina, there we go, onto a chair. And then she poured bottles into a swing. She spat it back in Mina's face. Later on in the match, Marina set up a table at ringside, and she took Mina to the apron. And she hit a back suplex off the apron through the table. And Mina took this brutal bump where her head missed the table. Actually, at first it looked like her head may have clipped the table on the way down. I think she missed the table with her head, but she just bounced hard off the floor. It was just a brutal landing. But I do love how, back into the funniest part of the match, they go back into the ring, and Marina is kicking her ass, in the corner, and the referee backs her out. And backing her away from Mina.
Yep.
And I'm like, it's a no-holds-barred match. What the fuck are you doing? Your job is to just stand there and do nothing, okay? When it comes time to count the fall, that's your job. Otherwise, get the fuck out of the way. No holds barred. But it created the separation that Mina needed to grab the champagne bottle, smash it over Marina's head. Then she hit a version of Storm Zero, dedicated to her friend Toni, and she scored the win with it. Very likely the biggest win of Mina Shirakawa's AEW career. I was racking my brain trying to figure out if in her time in AEW, is there a match, and there may be, and I'm just not thinking of it, but is there a match where she scored a bigger win than tonight? Because Marina Shafir is hardly a, big star. But I was trying to think that, has she beaten Tony in the past? Her and Mariah May, right? They had their little split. I don't believe Mina beat her. I'm trying to think, who would Mina have beaten? I don't know. But it's kind of sad that I'm even sitting here, even thinking that this was the biggest win of her run, and it was over Marina Shafir on a random Dynamite. Because Mina never wins. Like, I was fully expecting to watch this match and be like, okay, Pina Shirakawa, Finn Balor. No Pina tonight. No Pina, it was Mina. And it was nice to actually see her pick up a win here on this show. Marina never took credit for the attack on Tony backstage earlier. She didn't deny that she had something to do with it, but she didn't take credit for it either. And Tony Schiavone on commentary at the end of all this was openly talking about the idea that Marina Shafir was not behind the attack. So I don't know if they're eventually going to reveal that Ronda Rousey was behind it. If in fact Ronda is not done and Ronda is going to do more stuff with them, they could come back around to that at some point when she reappears and give her credit for, attacking Toni Storm. They had the face-off on Sunday. They established that there was some bad blood there between the two of them. No Ronda tonight. No follow-up to that angle on Sunday that had everybody talking. Unless, of course, she ends up being the one behind this attack. But this felt like their way of writing Toni Storm off television for a while. I don't know that we're going to be seeing her back on TV next week. So anyway, nice for Mina to rack up a win, especially before her big HOG debut. We got Mina coming in on Saturday at Super Clash. Take on Shotzi. So she's coming in with some momentum. She's coming in with a win. That's good. I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting her to even be on the show. She was a substitute. She wasn't even supposed to be wrestling tonight.